Yeah, what you're seeing is a low-level neurological, sort of d- uh, problem that is seen in many types of neurological disorders, not just autism. There's a misconception that it's related to autism, but the problem with talking about it in any usefulness is it's really associated with a neurological dysfunction. So we want to try to improve the nervous system rather than, and if we worry about every symptom, we could really get bogged down with symptoms. What's telling you is that his nervous system, he doesn't have as much conscious control of his nervous system as we would like, right? It's still too much, his brain is still too reactive to the lower level functions, and the conscious inhibitory functions aren't as well developed as we want them to be. Right, because you see there's bottom-up information going up towards the higher level centers of the brain. At the same time, there's top-down information. And there's two types of information. There's activating information, turning on information, you will, and then there's inhibitory information. Okay, so when you see something you call stimming, what you're seeing is the lower level centers, for some reason, are sending activating information that is dominating the brain. Right? It's dominating the higher level centers, and the ability then to send downward the inhibiting information to shut off that is not as strong as we want it to be. Okay, so that's the neuroscience of stimming. But it can be, why that's occurring can be so many different reasons for different people. So it could be that there's a slight damage in those lower level neurons or dysfunction there. It could be that the higher level cortical centers are not strong enough or not integrated. And often, and I think in autism, what we see is a lack of sufficient integration, so that the higher level centers are not as well integrated with the lower level centers, so that they can have that effect of turning them off, right, of inhibiting them. So, very rarely do you see when we call something stimming, where it's not the same as if someone decides voluntarily to start moving their body in a certain way. And in fact, if you ask a child who's got this problem to start doing it voluntarily, they're going to get very irritated at you. And it very rarely helps them to. Occasionally it might, but it very rarely helps them to stop what they're doing. It may very temporarily do it, but it doesn't have any long-term effect because, after that person voluntarily isn't doing that anymore, it's not, they haven't suddenly built up those networks with the lower level centers. So what you have to do is, if you're going to reduce things like stimming, those and rote learning and rote reading and all those types of symptoms or behavior, that is a sign that the higher level neural centers are not sufficiently managing, we have to build up that neural integration, right? And we have to be able to provide more of the ability for the top-down centers to both activate and inhibit, when needed, on an as-needed basis. Okay, so that's why I don't really try to focus much on it, because it's multiply determined. It's a symptom, and you can go nuts trying to figure out, how to do it and what to do about it. But yet, what we do see is when children develop greater neural integration, just like adults, by the way, who are recovering from neurological injuries, when the brain, in their case, recovers what they had, in our case, we're building it, you'll see the decrease in those types of symptoms. I mean, it's a pretty, highly correlated thing that you would expect to see, right? Okay. I want to give you a little bit of a framework